Welcome to Shout It Out, a Glitter Band podcast hosted by Warren Paul and Andy Chamberlain. Episode 15, 10 Glitter Band Songs You May Have Missed, Part 1. Our theme comes courtesy of Glenn Greenwood and John Springate. Hi Andy.
Hey Warren.
Before we start, we'd like to thank everyone on Facebook and YouTube who've commented on our last podcast, Let's Get Together Again.
Yeah, actually it's the best response we've had so far for the podcast, so thank you to everybody that's made a comment in whatever way. Some of those have been through private Facebook messages, which obviously we don't publicly respond to, but there is one that we'll talk about here for actually a very good reason.
Yeah, and some of you may have noticed on Facebook recently that there's been the odd post in an unfamiliar language. They've been coming from Milan, who I'm guessing is from Slovakia, as his comments are in Slovak. Milan has been good enough to send us a very nice private message. And Andy, that was a very nice message. That's not an exaggeration, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Well, yeah, very good.
As Slovakia was part of Czechoslovakia until 1993, Milan probably grew up in that country. In the 1970s, Czechoslovakia was isolated and it would have been very difficult for Czechs to listen to pop music, but there was one option, Andy.
Yeah, we've spoken about Radio Luxembourg a few times, and it appears that its signal was quite strong in parts of Eastern Europe, and obviously that includes particularly Czechoslovakia in the evening time. So we think we must really ask Milan if that's how he actually found out about the Glitter Band.
The Glitter Band had a couple of Radio Luxembourg number ones, so I'm sure there'd be more than a few people who grew up in the Eastern Bloc who remember some of the songs. And it must have been very frustrating not being able to buy the records.
Yeah, I mean, don't know whether they had the equipment to maybe tape it from the radio like some people who didn't have any money did in the UK and stuff, but hopefully later on he's able to make up for it.
This podcast is the second of our roundtables. Like the first one, where we spoke about the Glitter Band's first album, Hey, we split it into two. The title is 10 Glitter Band Songs You May Have Missed.
Yeah, so I think the main thing about this is we're not really necessarily picking our favourite Glitter Band songs that maybe didn't, hit the singles chart or whatever, a particular B-side that's really, really talked about a lot. Yeah. There are 2 or 3 tracks I could mention like that, but it's songs that aren't hits and possibly people that aren't Glitter Band fans even that aren't aware of, and we might want them to be aware of, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And the good news is that the Hey team is back. Hello,
Hey.
Susan Shepherd. Hi, Susan.
Hi, everybody. Hi, you all right?
We're all good. Susan, are you at home at the
Good.
moment?
Yes, I'm in Andover, which is sort of halfway between Salisbury and Winchester.
How far is that from London, Susan?
About 50 miles from the outskirts. Yeah, not too far. I'm just really interested in hearing you talking about Radio Luxembourg, because that was one of the only channels I listened to, not under the covers at night when I was a teenager, but I did listen to covertly at night so that my mum and dad wouldn't hear me staying up late. And I actually remember bidding on tickets for Stuart Henry's show on Radio Luxembourg to win a place at their charity gig. Stuart Henry had multiple sclerosis. I don't know if you remember that. And Ultravox did a charity show in Tottenham Court Road. And I bid on one of the tickets and got to go there. So Radio Luxembourg had played a big part in my teenage life.
Hi, Richard.
Hi.
And that's Richard Kenner. And Richard, I gather you're still in Spain?
I certainly am, mate, yeah. Alio and El Grande, half an hour from Malaga.
How big's Malaga, Richard?
Big.
Fair enough, because you really only, I could be wrong about this, but you really only hear about Madrid and Barcelona, Would that be the third city, do you reckon?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. Yeah.
Good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So we have Joe Sweden, and where are you again, Joe?
Seattle, Washington. I'm originally from England, as you can probably tell by my rule.
Yeah, I can pick that up. And how's the podcast going, Joe?
Really good, really good. I do it with my wife every fortnight. Just play all sorts of music from now and then, and I look at it as it's my sarcasm and her niceness.
Interesting mix.
You could work that out.
I'm not sure it necessarily comes across like that, Joe. I mean, you both
Oh,
come
I
across
know
as
there's
very
people.
knowledgeable. And what's really good is I get the impression, listening to your podcast, that you both have very different musical tastes.
Not really. We met through music, and I got her into a lot of bands that she wasn't really, because she used to work for Sub Pop Records. She knew Kurt Cobain and all them, and all those people. And it's a long story. I won't go, but we met through music, and basically our love of certain stuff. She's a huge Beatles fan, and music is the thing that brought us together, really. And we do the show. We did a few when I was doing them in England, and she used to come over and visit me. I did a few together, and I suggested we do it over here. And I'm not under so many manners as I was when I was on the radio in England. You can't do this, you can't say that, you can't play this, you can't play that. Whereas if you do it yourself, you can do pretty much anything you want, which I do.
So some of the 60s sort of slightly soulish type stuff that appears, is that more you, or is that more...
That's more Gene than me, yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm a sort of like foot on the monitor merchant, really, when it boils down to it. Guitar bands and stuff. I love all sorts of music, but, glam stuff. I love glam and punk and bands like the Manic Street Preachers.
She's not so keen on glam, is she?
No, only because of that American thing of not really getting a massive exposure of it. I'll play it in the car, and we play this little game where I'll say, "Who's this?" And she'll go, "Oh, it's one of your glam bands." Like
one of your,
yeah. She doesn't like Slade at all. Yeah. But we like a lot of similar things, and all good.
So, what's the name of the show again, Joe?
Social Selection with Joe and G.
Okay, and where does it appear? How can we listen to it?
Mixcloud. So, but it's on Mixcloud. It's under Trash City Radio Show. So if you look for Trash City Radio Show, you'll see it. I've just put one up yesterday, latest one.
So we have 5 songs, and their names are Sitting in a Hat, which is sitting in front of me. Okay, it's not a hat, it's a cover, right? Now, I'm going to pick them out one by one, and what we might do, just for a bit of fun, is before the person who picked the song starts chatting about the song, I think we all might try and guess who picked each song. How does that sound to everyone?
Before you even play it.
Yeah, go, Andy, see if you can guess the first one.
No, I don't.
Two people picked that song. So would we like to have a guess that who the two people were? What do you think, Andy?
Susan.
That's one of them. Try the other
Joe.
one. Well, that ruined that. It was. And
Remember
so
banana.
what happened was that Susan's and Joe's names were put in a cup, and I picked one out.
All right.
And Joe ended up with the song, which means Sue got an alternate choice. So, Joe?
Yeah, Off Rock and Roll Dudes, of course, penned by Jerry and John Russell. For me personally, this track is up there in my favourite GB tracks of all time. And why it won the single was beyond me. And it's often overlooked in favour of weaker tracks, in my opinion, but everything about it just appeals to me. The sound, I just think all the trademarks are there. And I don't know if they've ever played it live. Somebody might be able to...
Yeah, Joe, I know.
They have.
Oh, sorry, Andy.
That's all right.
And I love it. I just love it. I just think it's a great song. And I have played it on my show before.
So when did they play it live, Richard?
Well, recently they played it at the 40th anniversary gig in Oldham in the UK when they did that gig. Yeah, it was dead funny, Bill, because they were having. I don't know if Andy might know this. There might have been an in joke because when they were doing the chorus, they put a real sort of do ya, do ya, do ya, do you remember? And there seemed to be a bit of some in joke, so I don't know if Andy knows anything about that.
They played it, I think, before a gig in Hertford or Cambridge that I went to. I was surprised to hear them do it, so I think maybe to do that rehearsal. I don't know, actually. If there's a specific story, we have to ask them. They probably won't remember.
Just say, do you remember?
Yeah. No.
Do you remember?
He's on form, isn't he?
What's probably a little strange, Joe, is that according to your set lists from the mid-70s, is that they didn't play it then.
No. It's great song. It's like got that Leander production brilliance. You know, you could do a whole show about Mike Leander. Like his production values are up there with Spector and all the greats. You know, his stuff is just brilliant. You try and recreating that sound live is nigh on impossible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a catchy song as well.
I think it's a great song. Probably my third favourite.
All right.
What are your first two, Joe?
Angel Face. I don't think you can top that. It's like that is just one of the greatest debut singles of all time. And the second one, well, probably Do You Remember is the second one. And the other one is the other track I picked.
Oh, okay,
don't
gotcha.
mention
Well,
that
we
now.
won't mention that next episode. Now, the musicians here will probably shoot me down, but I reckon there are 4 musically distinct sections in that song. Now, that probably makes no sense to anyone. Does that make sense to anyone, or is it just me?
Just you.
Explain.
Well, if you listen to it, you listen to the introduction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes into what's the verse. Then it goes into what could be the pre-chorus. Then it goes into the chorus. And I reckon there are 2 hooks. There's a do you remember, do you remember? Then there's a bit when Jerry just goes, do you remember, with the response. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I reckon there are 2 hooks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's great about
do
it.
Do I get a 50% for that, Richard?
Yes, I agree
Don't
with
you
on
think?
that, mate, yeah.
Doesn't everybody think? Well, everybody's got their own favourites, but don't people think that would have made a great single?
Well, Joe, the thing is, Joe, it went very close. Mike wanted that rather than Let's Get Together Again as the third single. And,
Let's Get
John
Together is a
Russell-
brilliant single as well, I think.
Well,
It's just
John
a shame
Russell-
it wasn't recorded or written sooner than the second single,
Yeah,
which I'm not going to obviously mention because of the politics of the last round table.
Do you hear
but-
that, Susan? You there,
Do you
Susan?
think it wasn't
Yeah.
chosen because? Oh, sorry. Do you think it wasn't chosen because it's like? Do you remember? It's looking back rather than looking forward, possibly, and they've
I
just
wouldn't have
only
thought
just
so.
come out.
Well,
Maybe, I don't know.
we do know that JR lobbied Dick Lay of Bell Records for Let's Get Together Again, and Mike wasn't happy because Mike wanted to go with Do You Remember?
What politics goes on in the music game, isn't there?
Well, Joe, when Let's Get Together Again was about to be released, there were about 3 or 4 other songs in contention.
Right.
Susan, you missed out on that one.
Yeah, I'm really bothered about that, to be honest. I'm just
Sorry.
with Joe
Sorry.
along about this. I think this should have been a single, definitely. I don't know why it wasn't. And I think it's probably one of the most included tracks on albums that they made from across the world. I think it's one of the tracks they've included on albums the most. There's the hand claps, the excellent vocals, the catchy chorus, the drum beat. You can't help to move your body to. It's classic glitter band foot tapping, excellent music, and I absolutely love it. And I'm very cross with Jay for picking it and winning the vote, but yeah, I'm with him all the way. It's a brilliant,
You've got great
brilliant
taste.
track. Thank you. we have.
Going back to the single, the competition between that and Let's Get Together Again, I think the only thing about Let's Get Together Again, it's more, for want of a better phrase, anthem-like. It's again, Let's Get Together is a catchy song, but it's slightly anthemic.
Yeah. Wasn't it released? Let's Get Together Again released around as some sort of New Year Christmassy type thing as well, or did I dream that?
No, I think that's roughly right, but
Like to get that sort of
Yeah.
old Lang Syne update sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
John Rossell mentioned that, Joe, but I think the problem Mike had was you had that song and you had Gary's Oh Yes, You're Beautiful. So what happened was Let's Get Together Again was probably released a few weeks before when the band would have wanted to be released, closer to Christmas, Joe, but the problem was that Mike had to fit in Oh Yes, You're Beautiful as the Christmas single, and Gary took priority. I suspect that's what probably happened. Do you think that's right, Andy? It sounds
Yeah,
roughly
definitely.
what happened.
Yeah.
And in fact, Joe,
Yeah.
now you went to the Glitterman fan club Christmas party.
Gary
didn't you?
Glitter Christmas party.
At that
I was one
time.
of the. I keep it quiet, obviously. I work with the fan club. Did a competition to attend and meet Gary and that, and I was one of the winners. 74, 73.
Yeah, that'd be right.
And they
No, 74, Joe.
and I think I send you the set list. The Glitter Band played first. They just did I think they did Let's Get Together Again, Angel Face.
Yeah.
I can't. Just for You, did they do that? I can't remember. They did about 5.
Hope
Then they
so.
went off. Then they went off, and he came on and did a full set. But in between that, we were ushered in to meet him.
Oh, okay.
And I've still got all the signed albums and that, actually.
And you almost met the Glitter Band, didn't you?
Yeah. Because I said to him, I'd just taken up playing the drums, and I took up the drums because of the Glitter Band. And I said, "Oh, you're an influence on me." You're the Glitter. He said, "Well, I'll take you to meet him." So then he was like talking to a few girls, of the younger variety, and I reminded him, and he said, "Oh, it's too late now. They're probably getting ready or something." So I missed out on that. But I would have been starstruck because I was only young.
Yeah. I reckon we all would
I
have
was
done.
about 14, I
Really?
think.
Musically, are there two drums, definite drum beat, two drums sets playing on this track? Because I think I can hear them, but I'm not a musical person, so.
Double tracked.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I think we've talked about this before, Warren and I. Obviously, the party line is that there's double tracking on each song, but sometimes it's almost indiscernible It's like exactly the same thing was played again, rather than somebody just jumping on another kit and playing the fours and stuff. So I think they probably are on this, yeah. But probably both of them were Pete.
Perfect litter band. Perfect litter
Did
band.
Tony Leonard play on the albums?
No,
No.
not really, no.
Wow.
Well, what it was, Joe, was that Pete was based in London.
Right.
And well, there are probably two reasons. Mayfair Studios was in London. Now, Tony was in... Where was Tony? In Yorkshire, wasn't he? Somewhere like that?
Yorkshire, Sheffield.
Sheffield. Was it Yorkshire, Sheffield? So he was up north, Joe.
So to call on someone to do a drum track is easier to get Peter than Tony.
And the other thing is that Pete was in the band for about 18 months before Tony joined.
Yeah.
So it's probably a combination of things.
I mean, Tony was there for some stuff, but so got to look in here and there, but very, very little, if anything. So it was mostly Pete. I mean, most of the stuff was Pete, Jerry, and John Springate.
Right.
Then Harvey and JR would come in and do their overdubs and things, I suppose.
Who played keyboards on a lot of tracks?
That's a very good question, Joe.
Because I used to send... I know it sounds silly, but I used to write questions out and send them to the fan clubs. And I remember writing, I said, what tracks did Pete... Because Pete Phipps used to play keyboards live. If they do All I Have to Do Is Dream and all that stuff. And I thought I didn't know that the Glitter Band didn't play on the albums until later on. And I wrote a question. I said, what tracks did Pete Phipps play on the first two Glitter albums? And they wrote back and said he did not play on those albums.
He played on two. He did play on two, Joe.
Yeah?
He played on To Know You Is To Love You and Money Honey.
Wow. Well, they said he didn't. So
they probably thought that he didn't. But Gary was playing a show with Glitter Band in Hamburg. And look, this is an assumption, but I'm assuming they recorded the Touch Me album or a couple of tracks short. So they came into the studio that night or during the day while they're in Hamburg playing the gig. They'd played those two songs live, so they're well rehearsed, and they played that's the Glitter Band on those two tracks.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it is.
Live and learn.
So, are we finished with the song? Richard, would you like to say any more about
No. I think you've covered it there. The only note I'd put down was just to say about that 40th anniversary where they played it, Mm-hmm. Good song, though. Like it.
It is it's just a good pop song, isn't it?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Into the Hat again. Here's the next one.
Nice to see you again. I see that you have done your best to make me blue. Here come the nights, those lonely nights, those lonely nights that turn into lonely days, lonely days. The message is clear that you're sad.
Okay, it's guessing time again. Who do we think?
Andy.
Andy?
No, it's not me.
Oh.
It's a great song. I would have said probably you, Warren. Or Richard.
I wish it was, but it wasn't me.
I think it's Warren.
No, it wasn't me. No.
Oh, you just said it wasn't you,
So who
though,
could have
didn't you?
been Richard? If it wasn't me, if it was you or it was me, and it
Right,
was
who
you.
was it?
Round of applause.
It was I.
Off you go,
It was
Richard.
I. Right, okay. This was released in February 1986, so it's a lot of the, certainly a lot later. It was on Tempo Records, which I'd never heard of. And it's at number 001, so I presume it was the first single released on that label. So it was produced by John Springate and written by John and a guy called Jeffrey Peter Barnes, apparently of a glam band called Ice Cream, which I've never heard of. Them
Richard,
at
I
all.
think it's credited as Glitter Band Barnes, and I don't think it's that Jeff Barnes. I think it was Richard.
Oh, right.
I think it's Richard Barnes, and
Okay.
John Springate met him while he was working on the Matador soundtrack. Which was,
right, yeah.
Does everyone know the song "Boy from Nowhere" by Tom Jones?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the lead track off that, and it was a musical composed by Mike Leander and Eddie Sugo, and I think it had a short run in London, and I think John Springate was in that. Is that right, Andy? I think he was. He played the.
It didn't have a run at all. I don't think.
No, someone told me, Andy, they saw it and they saw Springy on stage playing the role of the bartender.
Really?
Yeah, they did, and that was
okay.
and
Well,
that was and that was a reliable source. So maybe there was one.
Well, John
All right,
Ricky,
well, that's gone.
he did record. I've got a single somewhere with John singing
To Be a
that
Matador.
song, I
To
think.
be a matador
Off the album.
and
Yeah.
another. Well,
Yeah,
if they did do a stage thing, I'd completely pass me by. I have to say, I've no knowledge of that.
Maybe,
me
Andy,
too.
maybe they were doing a rehearsal or something like that. But I can actually, I haven't spoken to the person for years, but I can contact them and check about that. So more about Richard Barnes. I'm assuming John met Richard Barnes during the recording process for that musical, or the musical that never was, and Richard had made some records in the late 60s. So I'm assuming, again, that Richard Barnes had probably worked with Mike Leander at some stage before the musical. Sorry, go on, Richard.
No, I was just going to ask, has anyone heard this Ice Cream's version of Shout It Out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
I've never heard it.
Haven't you heard
No,
it?
I've never heard it.
Oh.
No. Is
No.
it available on YouTube or
It's-
anything
I-
like that? Or...
I think it's on Spotify.
Okay, right. I'll try and track that down then. And of course, this lineup is slightly different than we're used to. It's John Springate, obviously, Jerry Shepherd, Tony on drums. Just Tony on drums.
No.
Richard, I think it might be Pete.
Well, it's listed as Tony, so
Really?
the lineup at the time was the lineup was Tony, the live lineups. So I don't know.
Pete.
Richard, I think that might have been a year or two before that. I think it might have been Pete Phipps on drums.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
right.
Pete.
Okay. So did he just come in then just to record them rather than being in that lineup of the time, or?
No, I think they were playing a few gigs. Andy was going to the gigs at that time. They were playing mainly around London, weren't they, Andy?
No, not just London, but a fair few in London. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But the gigs we have heard that people have smuggled a cassette recorder into are from London.
Yeah.
Seems to be the
Yeah.
case. Yeah.
Those
Andy,
naughty people.
Andy, at that... well...
Yeah, I always asked.
we thank them. Andy, I think at that time when they were still playing with Gary, when they'd go and play a show with him, I'm assuming some other town, didn't it happen on more than one occasion where they'd play a show with Gary, then the next night the Glitter Band would play their own show at a smaller
Yeah.
venue? Did that happen a bit?
Yeah, definitely.
Richard, it's a great production,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Really
I mean,
is. Yeah.
if someone had told me that record was produced by Mike Leander, I would have believed that. I think the production's that good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Andy, is there a bit of almost lead bass at the start of that song? Have you picked that up? Chugging away in the background? There is. It's prominent.
Yeah.
It sounds
is,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
again
Well,
with
it's
my
like
music.
it's like playing rhythm. It's like it's rhythm, isn't it? The bass
Yeah.
is playing like almost
Yeah.
a rhythm guitar sort of line, I suppose.
And again, I'm assuming this not being a musician, but it sounds like he's playing it with a pick because Springy plays with a pick, doesn't he? And it
Yes.
sort of sounds like he's chugging away with the pick a bit. But yeah, look, Richard, like yourself, I love that song. The first time I heard it, I loved it. And I picked up on the chorus. I thought, this is just such a good song. And I reckon at that time, if they were able to get the promotion, it's so, I guess, almost sad that it ended up being on a tiny label. If they got that onto a major label, maybe even a different act, it's a great song. I think that would have been a huge hit.
I was going to say, if it had been recorded by, the song had been given to someone who was, in the limelight of the time, that would have been a huge hit with the right band, I think. It's a good song. I mean,
Oh, yeah. And
I wouldn't say it was. Go on, sorry.
Go, Andy, you go.
I wouldn't say it was a level 42 song per se, but you think of bands like Level 42, it would fit into that field.
I can see that. Yeah.
Work.
Go west.
I can hear echoes of ABBA in there,
Ah,
and it
yeah.
Toto-esque Africa. I can hear both of those
Oh, yeah.
in the song.
I can hear the
Have
ABBA bit.
another listen.
Yeah.
That's a compliment saying ABBA because their songs, their hits were so well constructed, Susan. I would. There's another glitter band song which I won't mention now that I think is as good as the good ABBA singles, but I'll mention that in another episode. One thing I really, really like about this song, which maybe separates it a bit from the usual, I guess, mid-80s type pop stuff, is I love hearing those melodies that Jerry's playing on guitar in that song.
Oh, the riffs, yeah.
Yeah, it almost gives it. That's a wonderful riff, and to me, it's almost like a late '60s type guitar riff from a film soundtrack or something. I love the guitar parts in this. I just think they add to the song as well.
Yeah. Although it's quite busy, there's still a lot of space in it. Because it's quite busy. There's a lot of backing vocals, isn't there, and stuff. And you've got the keyboards in the back as well. But there's still a lot, especially in the verses, there's still a lot of room. It's not cluttered.
John did a wonderful job in the production of that song. Joe, what do you think?
Got a problem with 80s production values. It's I'd like to hear that recorded like now or something, because
You don't like a
I was a big fan of a lot.
you?
Nah.
I don't think it doesn't sound like particularly over 80s to me. There's
it
not
does
tons
to
of
me.
reverb on it, or there's not loads of reverb and stuff.
No,
I
not
just
a huge
think it.
amount, no.
I'd never even. If you had said to me who was this, I wouldn't have known.
Joe, did you pick up it's because I only played a small part of the song. If you listen to the whole song, have a listen to the guitar parts at the end. There's a bit of keyboard where Eddie and Jerry seem to be complimenting each other.
Right.
Just have a listen to the guitar parts. I think that maybe separates it a little bit from the general 80s sort of pop music.
Okay. Will do.
It's a beautiful guitar section.
I have to say, I have to thank Richard for bringing this back to the forefront of my memory, actually, because since he mentioned it as one of his favourite songs, I've been listening to it, and it's one that I press repeat and repeat and repeat on it, and it's definitely added to my playlist. So thanks, Richard.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, Susan, let's hope you're not the only person doing that after this podcast goes to air, hey?
Absolutely.
Okay, back into the hat. 3 left. 1 second. Closing my eyes. Here comes the next one.
When I was sad, I would run to you. You made me glad, made me someone new. Then my eyes began to see that your love was never
Now, who picked that one?
Andy.
Well, that ruined that. Thanks, Joe. Was it you, Andy?
It was indeed. Well done, Joe.
Yeah, well done.
Do I get a banana?
You can have two, Joe. How does that sound?
You get a sardine.
Oh, I'm not keen.
Oh, I like that. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah, so this is lifted from the Listen to the Band album. I know it's a favourite of John Springate.
I think at one stage Jerry said it was his favourite Glitter Band song, Andy.
And John has as well.
John has said the same thing. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
I'm
those sort of things change for all of us, but they've both said that it's their favourite Glitter Band song. Yeah.
God, you couldn't get further away. You couldn't get further away from a Glitter Band song than that one, could you? Really?
No, that's right.
A typical one. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've written exactly the same line, too far away from the Glitter Band sound.
I think, Andy, that Jerry, it was in one of your fan club magazines. I think you interviewed him when he said it was his favourite Glitter Band song. I'm fairly sure.
Right. Yeah, maybe that was.
What makes that? What the power of that song really is that tag that I gave him of the glam Beach Boys, is the backing vocals and the harmonies, which I think, as they went on, they just got so great at that, and that stacking the harmonies on, and that I've not listened to that song for a long time. And listening to it on headphones now, hearing those brilliant harmony.
Mike did a great job, but he had a lot to work with, I reckon. So,
They deserve that tag. Glam Beach Boys, man.
So the backing vocals, it was just Jerry and John, possibly with Mike doing some stuff there as well. Pete didn't do the backing vocals on it at all. That's what he told me. Mike just took Jerry and John off to Paris to do the backing vocals. Obviously, Pete did do the lead vocal. 100%. I just think because of the backing vocals, the song's understated in its own way. It's sort of quite sublime, really. Great song.
I think John Springate's got a lovely story about that, Andy, and I'm sure you know it as well, where they're in the studio and Mike played back the completed mix to Pete for the first time. And John describes the look on Pete's face. He loved it. Yeah. He couldn't believe what Mike had done with his song.
Well, I mean, I like that sort of synth sound on it as well. It's just well worked out.
It's also, I think the production on that song in general is a bit timeless.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, I was trying to work out whether it was George Harrison like, John Lennon like. You go all sorts of places with that song where it could have come from by another artist. I think it's outstanding.
Susan.
Yeah, I think the vocals are heartfelt, and I can get that, but it's not my favourite, I'm afraid. Not glitter bandy enough.
And Richard?
While I've been listening to everyone, I've just trying and think what I could say without offending anyone. I really don't. It's certainly not in my top 20 at all. I just don't. I think it's a good song, and the backing's good.
Joe?
It's not in my top 20, but I appreciate how great the vocal and the harmonies are. I was drawn to because I hadn't heard it for years, and I'm sort of with Susan on the not glitter bandy enough. My favourite songs are glitter band sounding, but I do deviate from that here and there. But I love the harmonies on it. It wouldn't be in my top 20 by any means, but everybody to their own.
I think it sits in beautifully with the album. I think the first time I've listened to the band is really well curated, and I think it just works beautifully where it is on the album. So, and there's a version of that where Jerry sings.
Well, I recorded it.
A sound check.
Yeah,
You've seen that, Andy. I was just thinking as I said that it might have been you.
It doesn't
recording
work live.
Yeah.
One of the things I've written down after listening to it a number of times is it feels like it's been slowed down. Is that possible?
Don't think so.
No?
I think it's just well restrained, very, very calculated tempo.
I can understand why you've. I
build
can
up.
understand why you've said that.
Susan, you know what? With our editing program, I could send you a sped up version of that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'll do that. I promise. In fact, I better just write. I know what I'm like. I'm going to write that down. Susan, mistake. I
Thank
will send
you.
that to you, Susan. I promise I'll do that, okay? Here's the next one.
She was stood on the corner of my floor. Black hair, red dress, she was really hot. She walked straight up to me, said, "Honey, got the free." She was almost American, almost American.
Warren.
It's fairly obvious, isn't it? Yeah, it was me. Okay, that's almost American, but you knew that from the chorus. And it's the opening track of side 2 of the 4th album, which is Paris Match, but it's not typical of that record, which is why I've picked it.
Yeah, it's one of the best tracks on that album.
I agree, Joe. It seems that with Paris Match, most of the songs were written to fit in with the album's overall style, and I reckon that Almost American, along with another 2 or 3, is different. Now, the song is credited to, I think, all the band members apart from Tony, so I'm just guessing, but maybe musically it developed out of a jam, and it sounds like, I think they're probably mostly Jerry's lyrics. And what's interesting about those lyrics is I think Jerry managed to break through the Michael Ender filter, because I don't think you would have heard lyrics like that on the first couple of albums. It's one of the few Glidman tracks to feature both Jerry and John Springett on lead vocals, and in common with quite a few of the songs on Paris Match, and this is not a defence of Paris Match, but I really like, there's a guitar riff in there, and it's not as prominent as the likes of, Angel Face or Just
Yeah.
For You, but I really like the guitar riff that sort of keeps reappearing through the track. So I do like the song very much. I think it's just a pity there wasn't more variety on that album. The only thing I'd say is I think it just all sounds a bit compressed and a bit flat, as in the recording. I think it could have sounded a bit more lively. But yeah, I think it's a good song. And I reckon if Paris Match sort of operated, if you like, under the same criteria as Listen to the Band, which is, I think, a collection of songs, I think it would have been better. And I reckon that would have definitely been one of the songs on that album.
Didn't John Springate once say he disliked that album?
He did. I think he said that a few
He
times.
said it was
Joe.
trying to make him disco-y or something. That song there, Almost American, to me is very good. And also, I really didn't love her at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like their version of Sympathy for the Devil on that album.
Well, that's good fun, isn't it?
I'm only in a... there's only me
Yeah.
and one other that probably do, but...
No, I like that. I like it.
I remember hearing this for the first time and thinking it was the first track by the band that didn't have the traditional glitter band sound. I mean, they covered lots of other songs, but they sounded like the glitter band. You could hear the glitter band
Yeah.
beat and tradition, But this one, it just sounded like something very, very different from them.
Perhaps they were trying to move away from that. You
Yeah.
can't do that forever. It's like Bolan moved
Yeah.
away from it, didn't he, really? as well.
Well, I don't know whether Warren was hinting at this, but I think this would be a great track to play live.
I think I did see him play it live at the Tameside Hippodrome, I think it was, in the UK. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. Well, Andy might be on the tour. Did it? I remember John Springer had a beard. I don't know if that helps the time frame.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they
Yeah.
did this because didn't Jerry play sax on some songs?
I
in
think
that
you
tour?
did see them play it live. I know, Richard, about the same time they toured New Zealand. They played it live in New Zealand, and they did the Supersonic 1976 end of year Prince's.
Is that when Gary
Charity
did his sort of
Spectacular.
come back with the orchestra thing?
That was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yep. They only one of those songs
Zed,
went
yeah.
to air, which was "People Like You." They played that at that show. Now they did a Capital Radio show where they played it. So yeah, obviously they played it live, and it would have been one of the very few tracks off Paris Match that they played live. And by the way, we're talking about I didn't really love her at all. They also played that on the Capital Radio show. They played 4 tracks.
I think the music is stronger than the lyrics on this song. I'm toe in the water here, but see what other people's reactions are. But I feel myself listening to the music rather than the lyrics.
The lyrics are quite different to the usual Glitter Band lyrics, aren't they? I think they might be Jerry unfiltered, those lyrics. If you listen to some of Jerry's demos of things, there's a bit of that in some of his lyrics where I think Mike tended to smooth things over a bit.
They're trying to be a bit
Yeah.
more adults in their lyrics in this album.
On some of the tracks, Andy, on some of them, and I think this was probably the main one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, it was issued not under the Glitter Band moniker originally, wasn't it? It was the G Band, so it was. So they were trying to get away. At that point, they were trying to get away from it, weren't they, really?
Was Love Street hard to settle down? Was that singles?
Hard to Settle Down was a
And they
B-side,
were
and Love Street was a single, I think, in the Netherlands.
What was the other single? Lay Your Love on Me.
That was the single in the UK.
There was an EP. There was an EP, wasn't there? Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
I think that was She Was All Right, Almost American, Love Street, and I didn't really love her at all. But I think in Germany, and this could be wrong, probably is, I don't think Lay Your Love on Me was released as a single in Germany. I think they may have gone with She Was All Right. And as I said, at the same time, you had Love Street as a single in Netherlands. So it sounds like
I don't know who picked those singles.
CBS really didn't know what to release the singles off that. album.
It was on the way out then, I should imagine.
Yeah, CBS was throwing everything. And, of course, they reissued the album with a different cover a few months later. Have you seen that one, Joe?
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Susan, the reissue?
No, I'm just wondering whether they were thinking about where their music was going in the future,
Yeah.
because they are very
They
different.
were, yeah.
I mean, She Was All Right and Love Street are very different from Almost American. I think in England, She Was All Right was the A side, and Love Street and Almost American the B side. Is that right?
I think they really didn't know which direction to go in at that point.
I remember how I first met you, baby, for the first time. The way you smiled and said the first hello, I knew that you would be mine. And when we kissed and said goodnight in that morning light, I just can't wait until we meet tomorrow night. Up to tomorrow, I'll be thinking of you. Up to tomorrow, I'll be dreaming of you.
Wow, who could this be?
Susan?
Cool guess, Joe.
No. Actually, yes, it was. Yeah, it's my choice.
That
One
was
of
the
my
other song I was
choices.
trying to think of, along with Until the Next Time and Until Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. This is probably all I've said all the way through these podcasts. That it's a true glitter band song, a true glitter band song, true glitter band sound, and this is probably
Interesting.
not a true glitter band sound. It's got the drum beat all the way through it, which is true glitter band, but it's not really a stompy song, maybe apart from the drum beat. But I just love it. I just absolutely love it.
Now, I'm really pleased you said that.
Oh, good. Oh, I'll hear you later. One interesting note. I was at the Concord Club in Eastleigh last year, 2024, and they had a question and answer session. Pete and John Springate, and one of the audience asked why they don't play Until Tomorrow as part of their set. And John Springate said, "Is that one of ours?" So maybe it's not big on their list of hits and favourites either. But it's a tap your feet. It's the drums. I love it. And I'm sorry it's not the stompy sound that not of normal, but brilliant. Could listen to it every day, all day.
Yeah, I agree. I've been wanting to ask some fans whether they see this as a glitter band song in inverted commas. To me, I do.
Yeah.
But-
It's pop glam.
So Joe said you agreed, didn't you, Joe?
Well, glam's pop
Yeah.
anyway, but
Yeah. So, I mean, there is another reason for me asking, but yeah, there's another reason for me asking, but I just think, to me, in some respects, these sort of songs like Got to Get Ready for Love, Everybody Needs Someone to Love, what's the other one? Harvey's song, Harvey's B-side song, You're Trying Too Hard. They're what I would sort of say they're ditties. Does that make sense, that word ditties? And, you can keep the sort of, guitar sound right, the drum sound right, but they're almost like folky, pop songy, rock ditties. And I think there's a lot of mileage in those songs. They're not too difficult to write either. And I think even now, if you were trying to put a glitter band album together, which I still haven't given up on, in all honesty, I think these sort of songs would probably go down quite well of this ilk. I think it's a great pop song.
Do we think that John's writing and the production could have been influenced a little bit by the success of the Bay City Rollers at this time? Because I hear a little bit of that in this song.
I wouldn't have thought so.
I don't. No, sorry.
Does anyone think that bit in the song, that "Good Night, Baby"? It sounds really familiar to me, that bit from something else, but I can't put my finger on it.
It's Wouldn't You Be Nice, the Brian Wilson song.
Ah,
Richard.
Beach Boys.
It's
Possibly,
like
yeah.
a refrain at the end. It's exactly, he's thrown that in.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yes,
I think it's a
you're
great
right.
song.
Yeah.
I just love that bit at the beginning where the guitar just stays on the same. It doesn't move, if you like, for 4 bars. I think that, I don't know why, but that just really hooks me into the song. That.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of
Yeah.
John Springate compositions where Jerry's put in some really, really nice guitar parts. Where Have You Been, for example? But I don't want to digress, but I think there's quite a few where his guitar parts are just wonderful. So am I the only person amongst all of us who thinks there's a slight Bay City Rollers influence on this song?
Yes.
Yes.